Alright, had a request. Kid wants to make a bow. I'm going to show him how to try and show him how to do this without actually doing it, seeing how I don't have the right video equipment for this. Here's my American longbow. That's what he wants to make. Give him a picture of it. I don't know how good this video is going to show, but this is ash, my ash bow. And the sapwood tutorial that I did is basically the same for this. It's not the actual sapwood. For the English longbow, I was just given the procedure for doing it without actually having the sapwood on it, because a traditional English longbow was made out of ash or yew, mostly yew, and the sapwood was actually left on. But these staves are so old, the outside layers are crumbly. And basically what I'm trying to show here is the best part to use on a stave, because he's going to be getting a stave, I hope. And can't really see the growth rings good on this piece of hickory, but you want to go for the best layer, the layer that has the most integrity and the widest growth rings if possible. These are kind of small on this one. I don't know if you can see them or not. Let me flip it over. That was cute. Okay, there's a little bit better. So if I were making this, when I make this bow, I'll probably shoot for these layers right in here. Those layers right in there. So I'll be taking all these top layers off, and that'll be the back of the bow. The inside, or the heartwood, is always the belly of the bow. Okay? Now, I wanted to show, this is critical for these American longbows. I wanted to show you the handle section. If you look really close, you can see on this ash, because they're so wide, but there's only 3 growth rings in this whole bow, except for the handle. And if you look, you can see right here, they stacked up really heavy right here where the handle is. Growth ring, you can't see it because I got the leather on it, but there's growth ring, and then they get farther and farther apart. And then this one goes to here, and then the whole growth ring runs completely all the way along the belly of the bow, all the way to almost the tip on this one. And it doesn't stop till right there. And if I turn it around, it's the same thing on both sides. And if you get this down, you'll be able to see that you're probably going to have an even tiller, depending on the wood and how many pin knots and whatever that you have to work around. But if you get a nice straight stave with not a lot of knots in it, you can pretty much bank on the fact that if you get this going from right here, and it's going to vary from bow, it might come up to here, but it's not ever going to be like this. It's always going to be one smaller one, and then the next one goes all the way almost to the tip. Now you may end up, when you're tillering it, the very tip, or so far down it might end, but basically that's what you're looking for. They stack, longer one, and then this long one, and then the next one is really long. It goes almost the full length of the limb. Okay. Like I said, these hickory, depending on the stave that you get, you want to get the thickest growth rings that you can, and that makes for a lot easier tillering. And I guess it'll depend on the weight and whatever you want to make it on. All right, we got that down. Just to give him a little, this is 72 inches. Okay. And this one's 82 inches, this English longbow, which is pretty common for the Victorian time period. I mean, they varied between 65 and 90 inches, I guess. And here's my homemade dryer that I made. I made it out of an old aluminum column off a Katrina house. But you can make it out of anything. I just put a piano hinge here on the one side, and and fabricated a little door. And I got a little wire and a screw to hold it shut. But down on the bottom, I've got a light socket, and I put a 100-watt bulb in there, put it inside, and I'll let it go for a week, rotating it 180 once a day. And I guess the next piece of equipment that's pretty critical, I mean, I know guys don't always use these, but I got a tillering board, and I find that you put this up against a wall and you stick your bow in it, and it lets you see that your limbs are bending uniformly. Stick it in there real quick. Bend it. And this gives you what you need for doing your draw length when you're tillering. See if I can center it up here real quick. That's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And you pretty much got to have one of these. You start out floor tillering, which is shaving off the belly, like I said, following that growth ring all the way down. And that's all going to depend. Once you get down to where you can floor tiller a bow, you're not taking off very much. And as a matter of fact, I used about I think it was an 100 grit sandpaper to do my final tillering. I just stuck it on a little cordless flat sander, because this bow is flat, semi-flat I should say, and I just sanded it down to do my final tillering. And what I'll do, and what I did, and I'll show you this real quick, is when I get down to when I'm finally tillering, you'll see when the bow doesn't want to bend in certain areas. It'll want to bend more in certain areas and not bend. And what I'll do is I'll take a pencil and I'll mark it on the belly like this. Like if it's not bending, if it's bending not right in a certain spot, I'll take that and I'll run a pencil, and I'll actually take a bigger pencil than this, carpenter's pencil, and I'll fill it all in and then sand it off and then put it back on the tillering jig and do it again and see where I'm going. But I always use a pencil, that way I know I'm not getting into spots that are bending good, because I don't want to create a hinge. If you over tiller, if you take out too much in a spot that's bending well, it's going to create a hinge, and that is something you want to avoid, because then you're going to lose poundage on your bow, because you have to separate all the other spots from the hinge and you have to work away from it so it all starts bending. And that's a good way to turn a 55-pound bow into a 25-pound bow really quick. So you want to try to avoid having any hinges in your bows. So you want to take your time, sand it down, especially for first timers. I mean, I had to build three bows before I got one that was really good. I mean, the first bow I probably shot 200 times before it broke. I didn't back it properly. And if you follow the sapwood tutorial and you do the thing, most